Hiya folks, it's me. Sorry about the lack of videos. It's been a bit funny round here. Basically, I'm not listening to music at the moment because there's been a lot of construction work. You may be familiar, in the UK, Grenfell Tower in London. I used to walk past it a lot and it caught fire. And because I live in apartment blocks, they're having to do a lot of fire safety checks. And some of the flats in this block haven't passed, so they're having to do all this work, and it's really, really noisy. Because they don't get up to spec, they're obviously in trouble. And also something really bad here happened last weekend, which I can't go into. And at the moment, it's just not appropriate to play heavy metal music. It's just really, really bad. So what I thought I'd do is do a film, but do it on my other subject, videos and books. And they've been keeping me company for the last 4 weeks. Let's start with the videos and we'll go into the books. Now, the first video I watched was this one called Gemini Man. I wish I could say it was good, but I'll be lying. It was a piece of crap. It's a typical Will Smith movie, and it starts off pretty decent. They just seem to recently just fade. Last few, sort of like 5 minutes of this was like a scene out of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You had some great scenery in it. That's all I can say about it. And if you don't know the story, he basically plays a hitman, and someone's cloned him a younger version of himself, and he's fighting himself. And I really like the original. I've read the book as well, but this is just so poor it's unreal. I only paid £2 for it, and that's all I recommend you pay. I might be taking this back to the charity shop, so I ain't got no chance of watching it again. But it's just tripe. I don't know what it is with Will Smith at the moment. He seems to have gone off the boil. Some of his films recently have been really, really dodgy. You know, if you don't agree, comments downstairs. But yeah, I can't recommend this one at all. I thought I'd show it in the interest of fairness. Because I always show the crap as well as the good stuff, you know what I mean? You've got to keep an objective mind. In my case, you've got to keep something anyway. Now, the next film was this. Now, this was very poorly rated. But this was an amazingly good film. Buy it. It's well recommended. And it's actually a true story about the Battle of Midway. Now, if you don't know what the Battle of Midway was, after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, the Americans had to go after their carriers, and there was a big battle in the end. I'm only paraphrasing it. It's well acted. It's what's his name? Is it one of my favourite actors, Woody Harrelson? You know if he's going to be in it, it's going to be something decent, and it's just a killer film. And it cost £5, and it was worth every penny. Definitely watch this one, especially if you're into the old World War II stuff. You can't go wrong. When them American bombers go in, it's like being actually in one. And it's just amazing stuff. Now, the next film's a total classic. And it's this film. This is a British film about nurseries in Africa. You'll never get tired of this film. It's got a really sad ending. Got some really funny characters. And it's just a really, really good film. I've been watching it since the 80s, since it came out. I went to the pictures to watch it as well when I was a kid when it came out. But yeah, you can't get enough of this film. Back in the day, it was incredibly rare because it got deleted off video, but they reissued it through demand. And now it's quite an easy one to pick up. It'll only cost you a couple of quid. But if you like war films, it's very, very entertaining. Now onto the books. I've had a few messages downstairs. Surprising that a metalhead like me can actually read. It's very, very funny, thanks. I found them very amusing. But yeah, I can read. I do have a brain cell left, and it's just enough to assimilate a good novel. And what I want to talk about is Dean Koontz, is one of my favourite authors. I've been reading his work since 1980, and he's been going for an awful long time. He started out in the 60s and he's written a colossal amount of books. There's about 70 or 80 of them in print. But when you pick up one of his books, you always get a good read. You always seem to find them in charity shops as well, which is a bonus. And they never disappoint you. They're always good. And what I love about his work, he tackles some really tough subjects. and they're very with a lot of humour, and they're very funny novels. And what he does is he uses characters that never been written about before, like kids with autism and stuff like that, and people with flaws. They're not these perfect sort of superhero type characters. Every character he writes about's got a flaw, which is absolutely fantastic. But in this series, it's a Jane Hawke series. He writes about an FBI agent on leave whose husband commits suicide in mysterious circumstances. I won't spoil it for you, because I did before. This is about the fourth take of this, but I was going too much into the story. But read it for yourself. You will find it very enjoyable. But that's basically what happens, and the characterizations, the plots are just amazing. There's also references to past novels as well, because one of the characters is called Travis and another one's called Cornell, and that was a tip to the Watchers novel, because that's what one of the lead characters was called. But yeah, it's set in Borrego Springs in California, where most of Dean Koontz's work's set. Usually it's set around Laguna Beach or Newport Beach or thereabouts. And a lot of his books are about travelling in motorhomes and stuff like that. And you've always got people after the lead characters. That's what makes them so interesting. And they're just absolutely amazing. A lot of people saying his later work's not as good as the early work. I don't agree. It's still good as it was back in the 80s. But obviously with what's happening in the world at the moment, we're going into a more dangerous phase than we was in the 80s. And with Dean Koontz, he's kept pace with the world. And that's why his style of writing now is different to encompass what's going on in the world. Because basically we are living in a world full of greed and corruption and all this garbage. And you sort of got to write books to reflect that. Otherwise, it's just no point. But yeah, the first one in the series is called The Silent Corner. And then you got The Whispering Room. And then you got The Crooked Staircase. Then you got The Forbidden Door. Then you got The Night Window. And the only fault I got with this book, I've got to be honest, I thought the ending was a bit crap. It was sort of this sort of ending you would have expected or you've seen many, many times before. A nice original ending wouldn't have gone amiss. I felt it unless he intends to write more books, and I hope he does about Jane Hawke. I don't want him to leave in that character or that place, if you know what I mean. And that's the only criticism I got with it. Because it was a bit of a naff ending, and if he writes more books about Jane Hawke, it'll be really good. If not, I'll stand by what I've just said. But apart from that, I can't recommend Dean Koontz enough. He's just a thoroughly great author, and check him out. Anyway, folks, the world's gone to hell in a handbasket, and all I've got to say is spread the love, folks. Love each other. And I hope to see you next time, hopefully sooner than I was before. But anyway, folks, all the best and farewell. Bye. And by the way, this video is dedicated to Greg the Egg Blackmore Rules. If he doesn't like it, I've done a good job. I made this video well. Thanks, Greg, and thanks, everybody. See ya.